Chat. Grab a cup of something and sit right down. 'Cause this is gonna be good.
Hello and welcome to the WonderMama Coffee Chat. I'm your host, Leonne Sherr, and each week I bring you guests who are using their gifts and talents to bring good into this world. And always trying to bring in topics that are important to moms and entrepreneurs. Today I'm sitting down with Sheli Dodson. She is the founder of Desiderata. I think I said that right. Desiderata Consulting.
Close, yeah.
Close, Desiderata. Sheli works with the kind of woman so many of us recognize, the high achiever who looks like she has it all together on the outside, but quietly feels like she's barely holding it together on the inside. She's part cheerleader, part drill sergeant, and she blends tough love with real practical wisdom to help busy, overwhelmed women get unstuck wherever they actually are. What I love about Sheli is that she meets a woman right where she is, whether it's the internal resistance that she can't think her way out of, a real reset on her habits and her thinking, or fully immersive support, where Sheli actually travels to her clients and works through it with them in their own world. She is Alaskan by roots and a full-time traveler by calling, and she brings that same direct, down-to-earth presence to everyone she works with. And so, Sheli, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You know, you and I met, well, it's wonderful to have you. But you and I met through a mutual friend that we have,
Wendy.
Wendy. And Wendy has actually been a guest on the WonderMama Coffee Chat as well. So we're just working through all of our wonderful friends here. And so
Community. It's about community.
it is about community, and that's really what makes things really work. But the last time we met, and the reason I invited you here is because the way you coach, we kind of look at the similar people
Right.
in
We do.
in really helping people when they can't see their way through where they're going. But your actual methodology is different than anything I had ever seen or heard of before. And I was like, oh, she's got to come because my wonderful people and followers and friends need to know about you. And so I would, could you just give us an overview?
Where to begin?
Well, how about who you are and why is this work important to you first before we get into that cool thing?
Who am I? Oh gosh, where to begin? Let's see here. I'm a former banking guru. I spent 26 years in banking and finance, working with individuals on both a personal and a business corporate level with their financial situations, good and bad. Did commercial lending, did collections, which people go boo hiss, but you're so nice. Risk management, risk mitigation, all those types of things. And at the end of the day, everything that I did, everything that made me successful at what I did came down to looking beyond the surface of what people show you, the story they tell you, to what's actually happening in their life, what's actually happening in their business. Because that's where the real work needs to be done. And then I call it the facade that they're maintaining is a lot easier to turn into reality when you actually can get behind the scenes and help people kind of clean up behind the scenes what's happening in their life. So when I left the corporate world and started traveling, I found as I was visiting friends and family and making a ton of new friends along the way, complete strangers, we would chat and then boom, I'm at their house, staying for who knows how long. When you spend a little bit of time with people and you get to know them and you see behind the scenes is when you really see where the struggle is. I think we spend so much time as a society trying to put on this perfect facade that life is great. It's either high drama or if it's perfection. and they don't ever talk about the messy middle, the reality of how we're living. And so as I was visiting and traveling and meeting all these people and seeing their experiences kind of behind the scenes of their life. And when you stay with someone, you know, the first couple days is usually everybody putting their best foot forward and being, you know, the perfect host and the perfect guest. And then after a few days, kind of the scales come off the eyes and you get to really see what's happening. And they start to kind of get a little bit more vulnerable and share their experiences. And that's when the honesty came out, when it's like, oh, I can work with that. Well, I'm here. And while I'm here, why don't we work on that? And so then it gets to the point where they don't want you to leave because, wow, my life is so much easier and you're helping me see and understand and move in different ways. That's where the work was born from, right? I knew that my corporate work had meant so much and the way I helped people was so different. My approach was so different because I would take the time to hear their situation and then we would propose solutions together. And you always approach people with grace to say, look, I know you don't want to be in the situation you're in. Nobody wants to be where they're at that has necessitated me stepping in. So let's figure out together what that looks like for real, and then what the options are to move you, you know, to move the needle. And that work was super valuable. And so now I'm taking it out into the world in a different way. Did that make sense? You're muted. Oh, but you're muted.
Of course it does. Can't unmute myself. It makes so much sense. And you know, what you did was you shared also your why, it's the how and the why. And we have actually already have a question on Facebook.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
what's the topic? And I shared already, I'm like, it's the coolest kind of coaching ever. It's Splankna. Did I say that
Right.
right?
Were you Splankna? Splankna, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, we're gonna talk
yes.
Splankna. I didn't know if we were going Splankna or Spark or Ice. I didn't know where we were
I
going, but
think
yeah,
we're
we can do
gonna go.
Splankna.
I
So
think if we can kind of talk about everything, but what's the base?
yeah,
Yes.
the base. So Splankna is the base. It's not for everyone, right? So it's not required for all the other programs, but Splankna is the base because Splankna is designed to help you get past the why you're stuck. Sometimes we know why we're stuck. I always respond this way when XYZ happens. So you know what the trigger is, but you can't seem to like lose the trigger or you can't seem to circumvent the trigger. And so Splankna, I stumbled across it. I feel like it's maybe one of those God things where he put it in front of me in such a way that I couldn't ignore it. Splankna helps people get to the root of their emotional responses to things, whether that's why you stonewall people and shut down, or whether that's why you absolutely lose your mind, or whether that's why you're such a pleaser that you burn yourself out at both ends trying to make everyone happy. It gets to beneath the why, emotions beneath the why, and the stories behind that, so that you can let that go and move forward. Because what I've discovered is that it's not enough to know that X, Y, or Z triggers you. Great, you know what your trigger is. How do I stop that trigger? How do I change that behavior? And so I guess the best explanation I have for the way Splankna works for me is it's a fork in the road. You know, X, Y, or Z might still be bothersome to me, but now I no longer have that knee-jerk reaction response. Now there's a fork in the road where instead of flying out the handle or stomping away or whatever your trigger response is, now you have a fork in the road where you're like, oh, here's this moment again. Now what do I want to do? Now how do I want to handle it? And that freedom to make the choice of how you want to proceed makes all the difference in the world.
Yes. Yes. I think everybody's in, like all in. Okay. Where is that? But what does actually what is Splankna? What
What
is it?
is Splankna? Yeah,
Yeah.
Splankna is a God-centered modality to help people address behind the scenes beneath the root. So basically, it's designed to combine body, mind, and spirit together, right? If you have ever read or heard of the book The Body Keeps Score, it talks about how our body stores emotions and responses, and that, of course, is what leads to the behaviors that we have. It's about getting to the root. You know, what is this emotion? Where am I storing it in my body? Where did it come from? What was the experience that got me here? When I talk about Splankna, I talk about big T trauma and little T trauma, right? The
Mhm.
big T trauma, the big things, a death, a divorce, loss of a job, the big triggers in our life. Obviously, there's a response to that and how we perceive the world after that. But there's also the little T traumas. And I don't know why I always go back to the story, but let's go back to, say, like a Sadie Hawkins dance in school in seventh grade, where you asked the boy to dance, and not only did he say nobody laughed at you, and so his friends laughed too. Um, 30 years later, that shouldn't matter anymore. But
Yeah.
somewhere in that moment in time, you developed a belief about yourself, or the situation, or how you were seen and perceived, that shaped the way you responded to things. And that moment and a lot of other little moments like that can build up over time to shape your responses. It sounds, I don't know how to, but if someone told you every day that you were stupid, after a while, you start to buy into it. And so all these little trauma moments and these little experiences in our life often shape the way we respond to the world, and how we perceive ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what we work to undo. When you know you're
So,
stuck and you don't know why, that's
so
it. Go ahead.
Basil van der Kolk wrote that book, right? The Body Keeps the Score.
Yes.
That's very
Mhm.
scientific based, but Splankna is God based. It's faith based. And so
100% faith based. Yeah.
how does that work? How do you tie that together? Because to me, I think that is one of the most fascinating parts, because a lot of people want to keep the scientific side and our God side. A lot of people are more comfortable keeping that apart, but when you put it together, a lot of powerful things can happen. And I think that's what you're telling us here.
Yeah, when you combine body, mind, and spirit, I mean, it's so funny because it's exactly what you said. People want to keep the science over here and the faith over here. Um, and I mean, to me, it's kind of like ice cream without the toppings, maybe. Although I don't
Mm.
know which is the ice cream toppings, but or it's maybe let's do this. Let's do it's a sheet set without the pillowcase and cover, right? It's only part of the story. When you put the two together, because they do work in tandem, like our body is a miracle. Is it weird that I walk around sometimes and I'm like, I can't believe the things that I see? Usually when I take a picture and I look at it on my phone, and then I look at it with my eyes and I'm like, yeah, couldn't capture it. Couldn't capture it. So when I look at our bodies are a freaking miracle.
Yeah.
Science that for me. I mean, you can't, right? You can't. And that's I think where people get the two, where they don't see the power of how what happens when you put the two together and go, oh, these work in tandem. All the things that happen, they work in tandem. I mean, at my core, I'm faith-centered. So I'm not going to
I
shove that
just
belief on
love what you
anybody else
just
because
said.
it's what drives
Science
how I
that for
respond.
me. Science that for me. Wow. I'm like, yeah, science that for me. Uh, you know, I think, my faith is really the thing that kind of got me through all of the big T's and the little T's, right? In life. And, just the miracle of, I love that example that you just gave. So you use Splankna.
Use Splankna, right? So what does Splankna look like? So
Yes.
there's a listening prayer Splankna, and then there's kind of in person, because I'm a full-time traveler. When I'm working with clients, we do face to face. We use the muscle testing. Um, when I'm virtual, because I do a lot of work virtually, we do listening prayer, which is just really leaning in and listening to the Holy Spirit's prompting. Always open in prayer. We always say, "Hey God, here's where I'm at. Here's what I need help with. Here's where I'm looking for direction." But always, God is God, and He's going to do what He wants to do. So we always submit to His will and where He wants to go. So we go into a session and we look at, where are we starting? Like, what point in time are we starting? Are we going back to something from our womb? Are we going back to something from early childhood? Are we going back to something very recent? Maybe we're going back to repeated patterns of behavior, repeated events that all carry the same emotions in them, to look at the overlying theme and say, let's address that. Right? So we always open in prayer. We ask God, where are we going? What are we doing? And He kind of leads the way. So you lean in and you're listening, and we just work through a series of emotions, like, okay, what is this emotion? And then you look, everything is stored. Everything is stored in your body in some way, shape, or form. If you don't believe that, then tell me why it is when you're super stressed out, you're more likely to get sick, right? Because your
Yeah.
body is storing that, and it doesn't have a healthy way to release it. So you
Can
look
I
at the
stop you for
emotion, you
one
look at where
second?
it's,
Can you
yeah,
spell it? Because online they're trying to look it up.
Google it.
Splankna.
Splankna.
Perfect. Yes, you had that correct. All right. I'm sorry,
Um,
but it was like,
that's okay. Train derailed.
what are we
And
doing? Yeah.
what are we doing? What are we doing? So we're just talking about what a session looks like. So then we go into, basically, we work through a series of emotions, whatever emotions come up. We look at what point in time they're kind of oriented to. Sometimes an emotion will come up and it'll be like, at the time of whatever the experience was that we're diving into, this is the emotion. This is where it's stored in your body. And then we look at head points, which is the point in time. So is this how you were feeling at the time about that moment in time? Is that how you were looking at the future? Like, oh, as a result of this experience, now I believe this. That's always, now I'm going to feel this way, right? Rejected anytime somebody says no, whatever that feeling might be. Maybe I've always felt this way. That persistent, I think it'll resonate with people, that persistent cloud hanging over you that you've just never been able to shake. Like I've felt that way as long as I can remember, and I feel like it's always going to be like that. And sometimes it's very kind of very spiritually led. Sometimes God is like, hello, for Shelley especially. Hello, Shelley, pay attention. Pay
Yeah.
attention. And sometimes the enemy just like, hey, oh, you're having a bad experience. This is what it really means, when that's not at all what it really means, right? The enemy works on
Such
lies.
a
So where
liar.
they twist and corrupt it. Yes,
Yes.
what's the liar? Where they twist and corrupt things. So we look at the emotion, and then we like what comes up, what memory comes up, what experience comes up, what thoughts come up with that. We kind of work through that, and then
Yeah.
we give it to God. All right, I'm going to surrender this to God. And sometimes it's not that easy, right? I on my faith journey, sometimes I feel like people are like, "Oh, just give it to God and it's all good." That's fantastic when you can do that. There are days where you cannot, right? There are just days where you
Yeah.
can't. I'm going to be real. Some days I ride the struggle bus of faith and I'm like, "Man, God, if you really want to show me you love me, drop me some winning lottery numbers." Something very that I can see. So the faith piece is, and that's what I love about Splankna, like you show up exactly as you are. There's no chastisement for where you are on your faith journey. Frustrated with God? Great, He can handle it. And you tell me I'm not going to condemn you for it, because there are days where I'm frustrated with God. So you show up where you are, and then we kind of do the best we can to surrender it to God. Sometimes there's a lot of forgiveness work, right? We need to forgive ourselves for buying into the lies, for believing things about ourselves that are absolutely not true, for seeing the worst in every situation and never being able to see the positive, right? Sometimes we need to forgive. I always say this, and people go, forgiveness around God, whether that's God forgiving us. And when I say that, this is not about God saying, "Oh, all right, Susie, now that you've acknowledged this, I forgive you for thinking that." That is not the way it works, right? That God already loves us and already forgives us. Sometimes we struggle to internalize that. We're so busy castigating ourselves and beating ourselves up for something that we just refuse to accept God's grace. So sometimes when we do the forgiveness work and it's God forgiving us, it's us just really internalizing. It's okay. It's okay to think the way we think and to have screwed something up. Like God's going to love us regardless.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's us forgiving God. And I laugh because I worked with a client once and he was like, "Well, I would never need to forgive God because God is perfect." And so, and he was just offended that I would ever suggest, like, I really feel like there's some forgiveness of God you need to do. And he would not buy into it. And I said to him, "Hey, imagine being like 5 years old and your parents take away a privilege or make you go to bed early or whatever else. Like, even though it was the right thing to do and your parents were in the right, you're still mad and holding a grudge against them. That's the kind of forgiveness we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's and he still could not wrap his head around that. Well, I would never feel that way. Even when I was that young, I never blamed God. I was never mad at God for anything.
Oh, good.
That's a whole separate issue.
That's a whole
I
different
mean, good
thing.
for you, but I'm not buying it. Yeah, that's a whole different issue. But and then of course, forgiving ourselves, forgiving God, God forgiving us, and then forgiving other people, right? Bad things happen. People do bad things. Sometimes we're so busy hanging on to the anger and the resentment and the frustration from that experience, we're not serving ourselves. I'm sure
Yeah.
you've heard the adage, it's like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die. Sometimes forgiveness is about letting that go. Like,
Yeah.
and
And a
this
lot of
happens a
times
lot
people
too.
don't
People are
know
like,
they're drinking the poison.
a hundred
That's,
percent, 100%,
yeah.
or they're not ready. Like the poison tastes so good, they're going to keep
This is
drinking from
my
it, and
poison.
so yeah,
Yes.
and I had somebody say, "I'm not ready to forgive them. Like the things they did to me, I'm not ready to forgive them for that."
Yeah.
I get that, and so I said, "Okay, you're not ready to forgive them. I get that. I can respect that, but can you acknowledge to me that forgiveness is the best thing for you?" Yeah. Okay, so then we're going to work through this forgiveness, and
Yeah.
you're saying it, and when you say it, we know that you're not 100% buying into it, but you are buying into the, "Hey God, crack the door open on my heart so I can do the healing I need to be forgiving." Right?
Right.
Sometimes saying it is the first step to getting there and being
Well,
able to
it's
do
the
it. So
same.
we do a lot of
This,
forgiveness
yeah.
work.
It's
Go
the
ahead.
same thing as what you
Go ahead.
said before, when someone tells you're stupid over and over again, it can be you that's doing that. So
Right.
cracking that door open
Yeah.
is
Oh,
just so important.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of forgiveness of self-work, right? I forgive myself for buying into these lies. I forgive myself for slipping these patterns, you know. I
Yeah.
forgive myself for beating myself up so much that I think that I'm buying into the belief that I'm a failure because I failed a couple of times. Like we are our own worst enemies sometimes, and that means we have to show ourselves the same amount of grace we would show other people. And I mean, I can think of people right off the top of my head where I'm like, man, you show X, Y, and Z so much grace. What if you poured a little bit of that grace on yourself? What if you
Yeah.
gave yourself a little bit of breathing room? And they're like, yeah, no.
Mm,
Yeah, no.
yeah,
So
no,
that's the work that we do. So we work through these kind of things. And then once we start to really unpeel it and unpack it, and here's the thing, you don't have to tell me your whole story. You don't have to get into the details. We're not, Splankna's not asking you to relive some of the worst moments of your life. We're not.
mm,
Big T trauma, little T trauma, you don't have to give the nitty gritty in order for the work to happen to get
right.
the release that you need. And here's the other thing I'll share about Splankna that I think is interesting. For me, I don't know how it is for other practitioners. I will go into a session and I will hear some horrible things that have happened to people,
Yeah,
things that just can't help but break your heart. And it's so interesting to me because I'll do a session and it will be very powerful. And within the hour, I couldn't tell you what we talked about. They come back for the next session and we're doing the work and it'll kind of start to turn back on, but I can't remember all the things. And I really feel like because when we open in prayer, we're asking God to kind of give us direction, and there's also protection and provision. So that
that
when I see you on the street or whenever I see you again, I'm not thinking, oh, Leonne told me all her deep, dark secrets. I don't remember them. I
yeah,
really, and it's so weird to me. I talk to other practitioners and they're like, oh, yeah, I've had similar things happen. It's like a little God filter. I call it a God filter.
it
You
is a
know,
total
I
God filter
hear it
when
and
you're
we do the
coaching.
work.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I don't internalize it. I don't take it on. It doesn't stay
well,
with
it's
me.
not
I'm not
yours.
carrying it for you and it's not mine. But and so when I see you, that's not what I'm thinking about, what you told me in that session. I sometimes later another session, something will come up again and they'll talk about it a little bit more. And I'm like, oh, that sounds vaguely familiar. And it'll come back for that moment. And then when the
Yeah,
session's done, it's gone. And so I love that because I think the other thing we find in this space when you're doing this kind of work with people, when they're trying to unpack really heavy things or really so much shame and loathing and frustration, they don't want to share it with anybody else because they're scared of how they will be perceived.
for
And I
sure.
feel like one of the greatest giftings in Splankna is that we don't carry it. I love
Yeah,
that. I love that about the work.
I love that too.
So
You know,
we leave, everybody's free.
there's a lot of conversation on Facebook right now. People are talking about, you
Oh,
know, the benefits of forgiveness, so they're really enjoying this conversation. We have
yeah.
Karen, we
Oh,
have
great.
Angeline, we have Lancelot right now actively on here, but a lot of people have popped in and out. So this is really, really
Yeah.
interesting and new for a lot of people. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi. Yeah.
I think we could talk about this for a long time because I think it's just
Yes.
fascinating to me.
I
But
love the work so much.
it's incredible work and it helps so many people. But you know, with us having about 7 minutes left with us
Oh my gosh.
being
Okay, that
here,
was
I
fast.
know it goes so
Yeah,
fast. I know.
it
But
does.
I do want to give you the opportunity because you talked about your Spark program and what
Yes.
you do with Spark. Wait till you hear
Yes.
what this woman
Yes.
does, you guys. Because I'm like,
I
oh, yes, we all need it. So
okay.
even if we go a tad
Uh,
over, let's go.
Okay,
Tell.
I'll be honest about Spark. Spark was originally a group coaching program and I didn't like it. I know people, there are some people who love group coaching and I have a coach. I have a coach myself, guys. I mean, coaches get coached, good coaches get coached. I have a business coach. We do group coaching, we do one-on-one coaching. Sometimes I get good stuff out of the group coaching. I love the one-on-one. I prefer the one-on-one because I want people to really be able to share their story and their experience and what's really happening without having to worry about filtering about what's going on. So the Spark program is 6 weeks designed to help you kind of revitalize, respark all the different parts of your life that need work. Because it's not just about um, your mental mindset and the chaos that's going on up there. You know, it's hard to straighten out your mental mindset if you go home to a house that's chaotic and cluttered. right? And it's hard to deal with the chaos and clutter when your heart and your mind are just so overwhelmed and burdened by other things. So the Spark program is 6 weeks designed to help people look at every part of your life. We're going to look at how you eat and what you're drinking and how much sleep you're getting and how you're moving your body, right? And then we're going to talk about what your body looks like in the places it's moving, right? What does it look like to move through your house? When you go into your bedroom, are you actually getting rest? And is it a restful room? Or is it a room where everything else got piled up so that the front room looks tidy and ready for visitors? So we kind of work through not just your mindset and your physical health and how you eat and treat your body, but we look at like what's your home environment look like? And we do some virtual, because it's all virtual, we do some decluttering. It's you and me, and we talk about what does this room look like? What do you want this room to look like? And then you and I will get on some calls and I will be with you, like working through that room while you reorganize, while you put things away, while you clean things up. Take something simple like your bedroom and your closet. You will be on the call with me and we will try on all the clothes and talk about what makes you feel good and beautiful and put together and what you've been hanging on to that we're going to let go of that's not really serving you. So that everything in your space is what serves and feeds your spirit. When you come home at the end of the day, you should feel good to come home at the end of the day. You should feel like you're stepping into a place of rest and renewal and relaxation, even if you have the chaos of kids running around screaming underfoot and you're stepping on Legos, right? At the end of the day, your home is your sanctuary. And so we do what we can to create a sanctuary that's a livable space and not a showpiece. So anyway, so we work through, there's 6 different areas that we work through in that, and that includes some Splankna work if you want it. It's not for everybody, but if they want the Splankna work, we include Splankna sessions so you can break through those mindsets and behaviors that keep you locked in those same patterns that aren't serving you. And I'm pausing,
Honestly,
one to take a breath and
everybody,
step of water, but to give people a moment to like process it because I know I'm a fast talker.
it's, I mean, I think we all, some of us dream about having someone come in and just help us figure out, because that's a lot of things, right? That's a lot of
It's a lot of
parts.
things.
It's,
It's a lot
it's,
of parts.
mothers, entrepreneurs, we have that in our business. We need that, but we also need
Yep.
that in,
Yes.
what am I eating? Am I eating the right thing? That's a question that a lot of
Right.
people have. We see our practitioner, our primary care and or our nutritionist, and then we go off and we're on our own. But there's something about
Yeah.
sitting with in community with somebody and saying, this is what I
Yeah.
do, and somebody to actually lean
Yeah.
in. So I love that you do it one-on-one. I love the
Yeah.
virtual, you know, sitting with somebody and meeting them where they are with no shame. It's because it's a lot. People are
I
navigating
had
a
a
lot,
I
lot,
had
lot.
I had a friend, and Spark was kind of a little bit birthed from this. I ended up doing a live-in with her, a 6-week immersive coaching experience with her for 6 weeks. And before I came out, she was so horrified by what she thought I would think that she did a video of her house. Like this is what it looks like, and this needs to be here, and this is it. And she was like, I just want you to know what you're getting into right before you get there. And I'm like, you look like every other overwhelmed
Every,
woman who's carrying the world on her shoulders and trying to
yeah.
make the world a better place for everybody else and leaving no bandwidth for yourself.
What
We've got this.
incredible permission
Uh,
that was to just be. I
yeah.
love that. Yeah. So
And
we are
yeah,
at
she
the
videoed it
that's
top of the
amazing.
hour. Or
We're almost the bottom of the hour. So
yeah,
every week we go live for about 30 minutes, and we're
right.
almost there. So I would love
Okay.
for you to tell everybody. I will drop information later. In information on how to get in touch with you will be in the YouTube version of this talk.
Okay.
But if you would just how do people get in touch with you?
So the best way to get in touch with me is on my website. There's a contact form there. And so the website is Desiderata Consulting, and we
I'll
can
put
put
that
that
in
in
there.
the show notes. Yeah, in the show
Yeah,
notes.
yeah.
And so that's the best way to get a hold of me, and then you can dig a little bit deeper into the 3 primary programs that I offer: the Spark, the Splankna, and the immersive coaching experiences. And
Yeah.
there's also room in there if you just want to schedule a meet and greet and face to face with me, so we can chat a little bit, and then you can decide, do I want to work with this person? Do we vibe? Do I feel safe? Because that's the important thing, right? Feeling safe in your own space, and we'll go from there.
If nothing more, just schedule a call with her. She's so fantastic. I hope you all enjoyed this. spending time with Shelley, that's amazing. I get to at least every other week usually, and I really appreciate that time. What's going to happen now is we are going to drop into a private conversation with the WonderMama community. So we will stop the live, and if you are a member, I hope that you'll join us. If you are not a member, the door is always open. Inside the WonderMama community, where we do this every week. And next week, please join me as I sit down with Mark Papadis. He is a coach, and he is for the kids, and he is fantastic, and I can't wait for you to meet him. So that will be next Wednesday right here live at noon. And for now, we're going to sign off. Thank you all so much for being here with us. And Shelley, thanks for being here. What a blessing you have been.
Of course, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So good. Yeah, so good.